I made $10,000 in 2 weeks trading futures using funded trading accounts, and I had almost no risk doing this as well. I'm gonna explain this entire process to you and walk you through the whole thing. But first, I just wanna verify so you guys can see. So you can see that I have 2 withdrawals here, 1,200 and 800. I've also been cataloging this on my Twitter. The link will be down below if you guys wanna follow along. Again, so this was my latest one that actually just got withdrawn last night. So you guys can see. So again, it's 5 accounts, just to let you know. But again, that was 6,000. First payment was 4,000. And so this is really what I've been trying to track and go over. And I've been doing a lot of testing about how we're doing this as well. And just to let you guys know, I have lost money on another broker. Again, that broker actually went under Fast Track Trading. So again, you got to be careful which platforms you are using. That's the first thing that I want to tell you guys right now. And that's why I'm doing this first. And I didn't want to make a video on this until I actually got my money delivered to my bank account. So again, this is where we're at. So number one, I'm going to tell you right now, before we go any further, the one I would recommend is Topstep to start with. I think they're probably the best one in the industry. I'll tell you that right now. Number 2, I would use My Funded Futures. Again, I like them as well. I have some accounts with them. I have not been paid out yet, but I know I have some friends that have used them, and I know they're legit. And they're actually calling out Topstep for being a bad broker. And transparency's sake, that account is actually down currently. I have only paid for those, but this is I've been scaling to that, and so I'll go into this here in a second. But to give you, for instance, there, okay. So the first thing right now is going over what is a funded account and how do you get involved and how do you start using them. And this is kind of how we'll go down this rabbit hole as well. And again, I also use Tradeify. I do want to let you guys know that. So I use Topstep as number 1. And I think you should start small before you scale up, but we'll talk about that here in a second. Number 2 is My Funded Futures. Number 3 is Tradeify. And those are all a little bit different. This is my Tradeify account. You can see that this is currently up. I need to get these really to 7,000 to 9,000. So we're almost there. I'll be tracking a lot of that here on the channel as well. But what are, Topstep accounts? What is this? Or what is a funded account and how do you get involved with this if you're interested? But quickly breaking this down, a funded account is you use and you pay to do an evaluation, $50 in this case with Topstep. And then if you pass that evaluation, prove that you can make money and that you're a good trader, then they give you a funded account and then you can withdraw after a certain set of those rules have been accomplished and to your bank account. And in my case, that was around 2 weeks of me making that much money, right? And 2 withdrawals, 2 weeks, right? So what we're doing there. So really quickly, let me explain the rules and kind of what takes place. And then why I think this is kind of the best barrier to entry for new and beginning traders. Okay. And before I go over the rules, I'll actually kind of go over why I think it's the best thing for new traders. Number 1, it's going to make you follow rules and actually have a guideline to why you should be getting into trades, why you can't lose so much money and blow up an account. And it's going to limit your losses. So if I pay $50 for an account, the most money I can lose on my account is $50, right? Now, if I pay $50, I pass, and I go to eval, I'll be worth $200 in the account, but the most I can still lose is $200, but the most I can make in this case, was a really good amount of money, which was about $2,000 for that $200 investment on that account, right? That's just on one account, multiplies by 5, right? And so those are things to understand. You can limit your overall loss. And in the beginning phases of trading, I think that's one of the most important things that you can do is limit how much you're trying to lose and understand what you're trying to trade and how you're trying to trade and become that better version of a trader. Okay. So going over these rules really quick to break this down. Your objectives right here, you can click this, but I already clicked it over here, is right here. And I think this is a little bit, I don't want to say misleading, but a little bit straightforward, but let me explain exactly what this means. Your profit target, you got to make $3,000. Your maximum loss limit, again, I think it's a little misleading, but $2,000. And let me explain exactly what's happening here. Okay, so your profit, very simple. You start at $50,000 on your account, you buy a $50,000 account, you have to make $3,000 to get to $53,000, right? But the part that, in my opinion, that's a little bit tricky is the loss limit right here. This loss limit right here of $2,000. So let's say I start at, I have a chart, right? I start at 50K, okay? Right? And the chart's slowly going up and we get to 51, right? Right, bad 5. We get to 51, okay? Now, my max loss limit is no longer just getting down to 48, okay? It goes to now 49. That's the max loss I can have right there, right? So this scales up with this. So as I increase, I can't lose that much more money, right? At the end of the day, too, it's important to understand that this is what your account ends at the day. So if I end a day up $1,000 here, My max loss limit is still $2,000 back down to 49K. So if I lose my money down to 49K, what happens? This is the biggest question you ask. So, Tyler, how much are you risking? I'm only risking the $50 that I, invested into buying this account. That is it. This is not my money. This is important to understand that, right? Now, a step further is understanding, what's really happening after that, right? But the next step beyond that is, well, what happens if I get to, 52K, right? 52, right? I make my way up there. Then my max loss is, again, 50,000 down here. And if I get to 52, get to 52.5, right? You keep going up, scaling up. My max loss is still going to stay at that 50K range down there. So again, you have to read the fine print, but 50K is basically where that buffer ends. So it won't go beyond that. And so that's going to be the very important thing for you to understand what you're watching for there until ultimately you get to 53K. And so the question is, what happens when you get to 53K? What happens after that? Okay. Then you ultimately get funded. That's the important thing to understand. Okay. And then understanding your 50% consistency rule right there as well. I want to make sure this is very understood. Your 50% consistency rule is very simple to understand. You cannot make more than 50% of your profits in one day, at least into your goal, right? So if my goal is to make 53K, then I could only make $1,500 in a day, right, to be funded. So if I reach, 1,500 the first day, 1,500 the second day, then I can get funded. If I make 1,500 one day, 750 one day, 750 another, I would not. You would be able to be funded after that because, again, you may only make 50%. But if you were to make, for instance, 2,000, then 750, and then whatever, you have to reach until you get, 4,000 is your goal. Whatever that consistency equals 4,000, to 50% of that 4,000. Okay, so very simple to understand. Not hard to do the math. Just understand that. But again, I wouldn't really recommend trying to just pass it immediately. That's how you blow up accounts really quickly. Is just trying to get overzealous. And the next step is moving into funded rules. This is like the good part. So if you go back to my account, I want to make something really clear. Typically when I'm trading, and again, if you know me at all, I trade stocks primarily. That's my main focus, is trading equities, options. That's where I've made a bulk of my money. Now, the reason why I got interested in trading funded futures is because, one, a lot of my audience doesn't have that initial capital. And I always thought this was an interesting viewpoint of funded futures and getting involved in that, as far as not having to risk that much money. The other part of that too is trading futures. You traditionally have to have a decent bit of money into that account, right? So there's two big aspects. Now, if you want to trade options, again, I don't think you need a crazy amount of money, but I still think $3,000 to $5,000 is where you have to start. Trading futures, as I mentioned, you could do this with as little $200. You get funded, and then you buy the evaluation, get funded. It's $200. It's that simple, right? And you can make good money, right? But I think it's much more difficult to make with options with less money. So I think that's a very big part. But if you watch me trade options, I think risk to reward and making bigger gains than your losses is very key. If you look here, my best day, was $700. My worst day was $290. I've only had one red day, as you can see on my chart here. But for me, it's all about just consistency on the account, just slowly making more money. Yeah, eventually I'll have a big chunk day where I do really well. But my goal is never to double the account in a day. It's to just get the continuation, slowly scale the account up, and just slowly pay myself every week. It's like a job, right? I'm not looking to get rich quick off this. It's just consistency. Because the reality is this: if I can make $4,000, even though I made $6,000 my last payout, if I can make $4,000 a week, that's still roughly $16,000 a month. Very important to understand that metric and what's happening there. And then after you make your first $10,000, they take 10% of your, for their cut, 90-10, which is still fine. Like, I'm still totally okay. It's still $14,400. Yeah. Still really good money. Okay. So important to understand that metric. And that's really my goals. And so that's really how I'm approaching this. So it's different than trading options of, I'm not looking to make, it's not as skewed as options. Options, the strategy is a little bit different as far as me getting in and getting out. I'm a lot quicker with these. These are obviously my trades, that last a lot shorter of amount of time. So that's very important to understand. So again, going back into what happens when you're funded. Okay. So I want to make this really clear. In order to pay yourself, okay, number one, you have to have 5 days of making $200 or more. That's all you have to do. So if I step in the market, I make $200, I'm done. And so as I go into my other accounts and talk to you about the scaling plan, this is really important to understand. When I make my money traditionally, I don't try to stay in the market and just keep trading. I'll move on. I'll go to my options account. I'll go to my another futures account, things like that. Okay. Your max loss limit is still $2,000, but this is very important to understand. Once you withdraw, okay, Once you withdraw your money, that changes very quickly. Okay. So I start at, technically on this, when you go to fund it, you'll start at 0. That's what it'll show your account at. Okay. Your max loss is still, 2K. Okay. You have no target limit. You got to make $200 a day, which is technically like $1,000 basically. Okay. But if you make $200 and you lose 150 the next day, you make 200 again, you still count 2 days. Okay. So let's say I'm making my money. Okay. And I get all the way up to, let's say 1,000. Okay. So 1K. Okay. Now I get to 1K. When I withdraw my money, I can only withdraw 50% of my money from my account until I have 30 days of consistency of $200 a day. Then I can withdraw as much money as I want from my account. Okay. Very important to understand that. But the second I withdraw this money, as it was scaling up back here, okay, we go back here. Remember how it was scaling up to maybe 51K? It was down to 49K was our bottom. No, this changes now. So when I'm using this, it's important to understand, okay, if I withdraw $500, 50% of my account, my max loss now is back down to 0 again. Okay. So that means if I hit 0, then my funded account is over with. So you have to be kind of delicate with how you're trying to withdraw your money and understanding your risk and what's happening there. The other cool part here though, is there is no consistency rule. So if you do have a big day of, let's say you make $2,000 in this account, which would be pretty good for a 50K account, right? You do really well. You just slingshot right up, right? All you have to do is go back and make $200 more for more days. You can withdraw as money as much as you want. Okay. So important to understand that the rules are very direct. There's no hidden gimmicks or anything like that. Okay. That's at all. I mean, I think Topstep does a really good job at explaining it. And compared to some of these other brokers, they're not very strict on getting your withdrawals, like very, very, very direct. Them and my funded futures are very, very similar. And so that's very important to understand. Now, okay, I've explained getting into them, how they work, etc. That makes sense. Okay. The next part is scaling, if you're interested in this. And this is the part that I think funded accounts offer a very, very interesting metric. Okay. So to start out, right, I started with, $1,000 in this, right? It's just 1,000, right? My drawing on my mouse is terrible, right? And I was able to turn this $1,000 into 10K. And I have the evidence. I've shown it on there on Twitter. It's all there, right? Now, I couldn't just keep these Topstep accounts and keep trying to, milk this and make, another 10,000 in 2 weeks or whatever it may be. Or I could keep these Topsteps, but I could also reinvest this into other accounts like my funded futures, okay? And so my funded futures, they have a limit of 3 accounts, but I got 3 accounts again with them. I think it was like worth $600, those accounts. But they're larger accounts, let you know, by the way. So $600. And then I can aim to make, let's say I can make every 5 days. My goal is to make, realistically, $1,500. Okay. Let's just say, dude, my drawings are tough. Okay. $1,500. And then I also took some of this, right, to a Tradeify account and got, 3 accounts. And my goal with this, and let's say these did cost, I can tell you right now, it was about $1,100, I believe, for those 3. Okay. And my goal here is to make another $1,500. Okay. Now, really quick, I'm going to just get rid of this because I made 10K. Don't get me wrong. But my goal here is going to be on these accounts to make, 4K. Conservative. I want to be very conservative, right? 4K a week. And this is just weekly, right? These are not like outlandish goals. This is just what I want to make per week, right? So quickly, this adds up to where you potentially could be making $6,000 a week just off these. And again, it sounds aggressive, but it's really not, because again, off this 4K, you're really just trying to make $200 to $250 a week or a day. Not that much. On these accounts, again, they're bigger accounts, so you scale how you want, but yeah, still not that aggressive for what I'm doing. And so this quickly compounds, and you're doing this with not a lot of equity. And that's the very interesting part. Now, and that's how I'm approaching this. And this is literally what I've done. So like I have not withdrawn the money from these. Obviously this account's red, so I can't withdraw money. I'll keep you guys updated on how I'm doing this. This account's green, looking fine, but right. But I want to make something very, very clear. This right now is the most scalable way to trade with less equity. If you have less initial equity, it is the most scalable way. There's no other way, in my opinion, out there that offers the path to monetary success in trading like this right now. Personal opinion, okay? But the thing that I will tell you is it's very difficult. Okay. It's very, very difficult. I don't think that these companies are predatory, but I do believe that in order for these companies to make money, besides like Topstep and my funded futures, like, I mean, still, they make the most money when you fail your accounts and blow your account up. That is how they make your money, by you coming back over and over and blowing your account up and just continuing to pay a subscription fee. Okay. Right. Very important to understand that. And so you need to understand, and this is what I tell people too, is don't go into it and buying 5, 10 accounts, whatever it is. Go with one. Once you prove to yourself you can succeed and do it on one account, then buy another. And then you just slowly scale that. It's not a rush. When you go into this, I could have started this and bought 20 accounts across 10 different platforms. But I wanted to do it with a purpose to show people that like you want to slowly scale. It's like any business, and you have to treat it like that and respect it like that, or you will lose a lot of money. And I want to make sure I'm not pushing this agenda like get funded accounts, you're going to get rich tomorrow. No. I've had success, maybe a little bit of luck too, but I want to make it very clear that you got to treat this like a job, guys. You have to treat it very seriously. But if you treat it seriously, I think the monetary potential here is fantastic. Some of the best that I've seen across the board. And you can really make serious money. If you guys are interested too, I recommend following on Twitter. Again, I'm going to have a lot of these updates on there, how I'm trading, stocks I'm liking, levels. I make videos as well, posting them on Twitter and on YouTube here, obviously. So you guys can get updates on how I'm looking at the market, key levels, things like that for futures. So if you're interested, follow there. I appreciate you guys. I might have affiliate links down below. I have none that I'm posting as of right now. But again, this is who I use. Just want to help you guys out. If you have questions, comment down below. I appreciate it. Have a good one.